Hello, it's Brother Murdoch, and this is part 2 to using the Cloud Shell. So we are using the Cloud Shell to do an exercise today with our API test we wrote previously, and in part 1 I got stuck. So what I ran into was I could not run my tests. So I'm going to show you what we ended up deciding. I ended up deciding on doing. So I'm going to go back into my API tests, right click, and I'm going to say open in terminal. And now I'm going to say npm run test, and we are stuck again with an error. So if I look at the error, it says unexpected token export, so we're still unable to use the code that we wrote for our API test. So if I say get status right now, I've got a bunch of changes and I don't want any of them because they were all changes I made to try and fix the issue. So there's a couple ways I could get rid of all these changes, but the easiest way is if I just type get stash. That's going to get rid of everything I changed after I cloned the repository. And so my files should go back to how they were. And if I go to test, you'll see I'm back to my login test, and utils I have my login.js and my login.mjs. So if I say get status, I still have that login.js file that I want to get rid of, so I'm going to just delete that. And here's what I ended up figuring out. So if I look at the Node version that's running in Google Cloud, it's only version 12, and the version that I've been using is a much newer version that supports the MJS stuff. So we're going to do some cool things with Docker to solve this issue. So the nice thing about Docker is I don't have to install NodeJS new version in the Google Cloud. For this to work, I can just add a Dockerfile. So I'm going to say new file, Dockerfile, and notice there's no dot or anything on the end. Then I'm going to go into this Dockerfile, and I'm going to say from, and I have to tell it the node 14 Docker image. So I'm going to go to dockerhub.com and find that node 14 image, which is the version that I'm using on my own computer. So if I search for Node.js, let's just search for Node. There it is. And then if I scroll down, here are all the different image numbers that I can use. I'm going to go with 14 Alpine. Alpine is a pretty good one, so it's lightweight and easy and quick to start up. So let's change the from to say from 14 Alpine, and then I'm going to copy everything from my code into the folder, and I'm going to say workdir app. That means I'm going to run in the app folder, and then I'm going to say copy all the code into that, and then I'm going to say execute npm install, and then npm run test, and then let's try that. So we're going to run that Docker build, and I'm going to call it API tests. I clicked authorize, and I said docker build dot, which means look in my local folder for the Docker file and tag it with the name API tests. And it says unknown command workdir. Oops, I misspelled workdir. Let's try that again. Access denied. Did I type that wrong? 14 -alpine. Oh, and it says I need to do Docker login. So let's say Docker login, and it succeeded. Notice I didn't have to type a password or anything. So now I'm going to say Docker build -t API test. That's going to name the image. Well, I just logged in. Does not exist. From Node. That's sorry. Node is the name of the thing I want, and 14 Alpine is the tag. Because 14 Alpine is saying version 14 of the Node image running on the Alpine Linux system. And notice I was now able to run my API test. So the question is, how did that work? Because before I wasn't able to run it because of my Node version. Well, the answer is that I have used Docker to solve that problem. And that's because Docker is independent. It's running a different operating system from what I'm using here. So this is one operating system. The Cloud Shell is running a version of Linux on a virtual machine. But then I have Docker containers running inside of it. And the Docker container running inside of it is running Alpine Linux. And it's running Node version 14, which is different than version 12, and it supports the JavaScript that I've written. So that's a nice way to use Docker to solve problems with dependencies and versions, and you don't have to mess with, I never had to upgrade this to 14, I just used Docker, and now it works. So that is what we've learned to do with Docker today, and have a great day.